The thunder of motorcycles shattered the Sunday calm as a pack of leather-clad bikers roared into the small-town diner parking lot. Conversations stopped. Coffee cups froze mid-air. People stared, some with fear, others with curiosity. The group was notorious, the Iron Wolves, a band of ex-soldiers turned bikers. They carried an aura of danger, loss, and loyalty. Among the onlookers stood a little girl, no more than 7, holding a worn silver dog tag tightly in her small hand. Her bright blue eyes, full of confusion and hope, darted between the rugged faces of the men. Then, in a trembling voice that cut through the heavy silence, she asked, "Who is my father?" The question dropped like a stone into still water. Every biker turned toward her, puzzled, wary. The leader, a tall, broad man with a thick beard and a faded army jacket, slowly took off his sunglasses. His name was Jake Dalton, a war veteran in the heart of the Iron Wolves. He had seen and lost too much, both overseas and back home. His gaze softened as he looked at the girl clutching the dog tag. "Where'd you get that, sweetheart?" he asked quietly. The girl looked up at him with wide eyes. "It was my daddy's," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mama said he was a soldier. She said he rode with the wolves." Jake's breath caught. He took a slow step forward, his boots crunching on gravel. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said. "Lily Grace." The name hit Jake like a bullet from the past. Grace, that was the name of the woman he'd loved before the war. The woman he left behind when his nightmares became too heavy to share. The woman who never answered his letters when he came back broken and hollow. He hadn't known she'd had a child. "Where's your mama, Lily?" he asked, his voice trembling just enough for his brothers to notice. Lily's little fingers fidgeted with the chain. "Mama went to heaven last month. She told me to find the wolves. She said you'd tell me about Daddy." Jake's chest tightened. The world around him seemed to blur. The other bikers shifted uneasily, glancing at one another. They were all tough men, veterans scarred by war and life, but this little girl had pierced straight through their armor. "Sweetheart," Jake said, crouching down to her level, "your mama's name was Grace, wasn't it?" Lily nodded. Her curls bounced slightly as she did. "She said Daddy was brave, but he was sad inside. She said you all helped him." Jake closed his eyes. Memories flooded in, dusty camps, laughter around bonfires, a young soldier named Ben who'd always talked about his girl, Grace. Jake had promised to bring him home. But in a split-second ambush overseas, Ben was gone. All Jake brought back was that dog tag. "Your daddy," Jake began, his voice breaking. "Your daddy was the best man I ever knew. He saved my life." Lily's lip trembled. "Then why didn't he come back?" Jake swallowed hard. "Because heroes sometimes don't get to." Tears welled in her eyes, and Jake's own vision blurred. The other bikers removed their caps in silent respect. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Jake gently placed his hand over Lily's and said, "Your father would be proud of you. You're brave, just like him." She looked up at him, confused. "But Mama said, if I find the wolves, I'd find my family." Jake looked at his brothers, men who had fought beside him, bled beside him, lived their lives under the shadow of fallen comrades. They all nodded silently. One by one, they stepped forward until Lily was surrounded by leather jackets and warm eyes. Jake smiled through his tears. "You did, sweetheart. You found us. We're your family now." From that day on, Lily became the heart of the Iron Wolves. Wherever the pack went, she was there, her laughter echoing through the roar of engines. They took turns, watching over her, teaching her how to ride, how to stand tall, and how to never give up. The wolves changed too. The road that had once been about running from pain became a journey toward healing. Jake, who had lost his will to feel, now found purpose again in protecting the little girl who reminded him of everything good they'd fought for. Years passed, and the legend of the Iron Wolves grew, but so did Lily. On her 10th birthday, Jake gave her a leather jacket of her own. On the back, embroidered in silver thread, were the words, "Daughter of the Wolves." When she asked him why he'd done it, Jake knelt beside her and said, "Because your father was my brother. And that makes you my daughter too." Lily threw her arms around him, and for the first time in years, Jake felt peace wash over him. The wolves stood together, engines rumbling softly, as the sun set behind them, a symbol of endings and beginnings all at once. Years later, at a veteran's memorial, a young woman stood beside Jake, now gray-bearded and weathered. She wore her father's dog tag around her neck. You kept your promise, she whispered. Jake smiled faintly. We all did. As they walked away from the monument, the sound of motorcycles echoed in the distance, carrying with it a message of love, loyalty, and second chances. Because sometimes, family isn't found in blood, it's found in the bonds we choose, and in the little girl brave enough to ask a question that changed them all. Who is my father?